In light of this time, Creating in Isolation is a group exhibition at the Okotoks Art Gallery. G9 represents the group of artists who make up this interesting and complex show. In part 2 of this exhibition tour, we further explore some of the themes that arise when we take a closer look at the pieces created by this diverse and talented group of artists, including expression during isolation, personal transformation, and the essential role the arts play during times of crisis. We begin with the art of Asta Dale. Asta describes many months spent in preparation for an art show that delved into complex philosophical thought. Alberta, the piece you see here, signified a departure from the project she had been working on. The artist describes it as a relaxing exercise after the intensity of her project. The work fills an appropriate role. Much of the project Asta had been devoting time to revolved around an interest in bridging the gap between what has been called the ivory tower of academia and the average person on the street. Alberta serves as a reflection of this ideal, a wildly fun and accessible piece with a recognizable symbol of our prairie communities and province as a whole. This colorful calf seen here is also a reflection of the artist's exploration into the emotive impact of color and form. Watercolor and bright-colored tissue make up abstract shapes, which together form one representational whole. The positive emotion associated with these bright colors is not only an important affirmation for the artist, but the form itself calls to mind an iconic Albertan image, the cow. Asta Dale was born in Germany during World War II. She migrated to London, England to work in nursing and started drawing and painting. She later migrated to Canada with her family and studied at the art college, receiving her Diploma of Fine Arts, and later completing a BFA at the University of Calgary. The bold, colorful work of artist Pira is powerfully arresting. The artist's own words come to mind when appreciating these beautiful pieces. Quote, "The energy of transformation is a powerful, inexorable force that will alter worlds." The artist wonders, what are these transformative forces and how can they be identified? Grieg's process in creating these abstract pieces begins on a small scale, simple with only a pencil and crayons to guide him in the exploration of energy as color and transformation. Basic shapes organize this energy, but the artist is constantly aware of the potential change in these shapes, their nature to shift, change, or disintegrate entirely. From his smaller drawings grow these large oil paintings on canvas. The painting itself signifies success for the artist if he feels he has captured and adequately expressed those same powerful and transformative forces he's so keenly shaping into form. As an image emerges or it is transformed, the artist describes searching for transformational energy within himself. It is a powerful and complex concept and process, one felt as we engage with these pieces as viewers, and two, reflect on the power of transformation. Pira is an artist and educator who lives in Hanna, Alberta. His work has been exhibited in Canada, the United States, and Europe. Painting is a life passion for Greg, a passion he continues in his practice and his creative endeavors with his students. Artist David Harrison took the opportunity during a time of isolation in the pandemic to revisit his genealogy. This led to a reflection on massive social upheavals throughout history, which in some cases rival or surpass the crisis of our world's current state. During this time, he worked on a series of watercolors entitled Loudon. The works were named after a small village in his native Yorkshire, which at one time was the center of violent protests in the woolen industry. In the 1700s, handloom weavers saw a threat to their trade from industrialization. In researching his family's roots, he discovered many of his ancestors were clothiers, which meant they were self-sufficient in raising sheep, shearing, and spinning the wool, weaving the clothing, and then selling their product. Industrialization meant the decline of handloom weaving, with the introduction of steam-powered mills, and as a result a loss of identity. Luddites, as they were called, were handloom weavers, who protested modernization by attacking mills and equipment. In a village near Loudon, many protesters were hanged. In the Loudon series you see here, evidence of the weaving practice is clear in the exploration of warp and weft, the very foundation of weaving, and the visual reflection of the tensions of the violent period. The punctured surfaces and graphite panels, along with heavily incised lines, attempt to emphasize the loss of one's identity in that traumatic period. Certainly the themes reflected and explored in this series take on new and poignant meaning during a time of similar emotional, physical, and psychological upheaval. David Harrison is an artist and art educator trained in London, England. He emigrated to Canada, where he earned his MA from the University of Calgary and worked as an art teacher, art consultant, and fine arts department head. David exhibits locally and nationally. He is also a speaker, awards juror, and art critic to local arts organizations. Artist Cameron Lee Roberts considers his work to be Renaissance contemporary, born out of a passion for and study of the Renaissance masters. This influence is clear in the way this artistic movement has influenced his own work, visible in his use of line, mark-making, and unique aesthetic for the human figure. Cameron describes these works as an emotional interpretation of the human condition. He has a keen interest in capturing and portraying the inner emotion of his subject, but is just as eager to understand how the works will be interpreted by the viewer. Rooted in the strength of years of dedication and passion to the human form, the artist shares these emotive translations of what he refers to as the emotional human landscape. Quote, learning to portray the human form complete with beauty, character, emotion, sensuality, and all the qualities that bring us together in our relating to one another is a true challenge, one that takes a lifetime to learn. Cameron has always had a passion for drawing. He refers to emotional, sensitive, and energetic mark-making as being distinguishing characteristics of his figurative work. His preferred medium for painting is oil, which he finds sensuous, rich, and full of body. He paints the same way he approaches drawing, with bold and sensitive energy and emotion. Cameron Lee Roberts is a strong advocate of the creative pursuit. He graduated from the Alberta College of Art, majoring in sculpture and drawing, and was the recipient of the ACAD Alumni Legacy Award in 2016 for his contributions to the Calgary arts community. He has instructed in figure and portrait drawing for 14 years. Those familiar with the local Calgary art scene might see some familiar faces in this masterful painting by Erinidorenko. Entitled Colin, Jen and I Painting, the artist inserts himself into a scene with fellow artists within a studio setting that can't be mistaken as anything but. He describes this painting as coming about when battling a sense of a technical plateau. This focused on a study of what he refers to as contemporary brush masters. The advantages of our digital virtual age, allowing him to connect to his peers in an informative and immediate way, rather than rely on study in a library or museum as artists of old may have had to do. Erin brings these masters into his own paintings, both their physical form as well as the influence of their own artistic expression, inserting himself into a simple narrative in a manner he refers to as arrogant. And yet in doing so, he reveals not the importance of a singular artist or artistic movement, but a more resonant revelation. That is, the importance of art and the arts, an apt and poignant acknowledgement during a time so many of us have looked to the arts for comfort and escape. Erinidorenko graduated from the Alberta College of Art and Design, where he received a bachelor's degree of fine arts in painting. He currently lives in Calgary, where he paints full-time and also curates art shows at various venues around the city. We hope you enjoyed our look at this complex exhibition, made up of such a talented and diverse group of artists. We'd like to close this tour by once more quoting a guiding philosophy of this artist collective. Quote, through different artistic visual representations, we can collectively stimulate various aspects of beauty and communicate a message that can unite us, that message being unity through diversity. Thanks so much for joining us.